Welcome back to our daily live feed. We'll wait a few minutes for everybody to get logged on, then we'll roll right into it. It is BSPN night tonight. And if you would like to come and work with me, suitsandposing.com is where you gotta go. If you didn't know, now you know. Of the Clash of the Titanz Show. Lighting was so much better at the show. Yeah, much better at this show. Yep. If only you could have gone live or taken a video. We're going to talk about that, by the way. We're going to talk about that. That's the first thing we're going to talk about tonight. I shall log it on. Our sizzling summer suit sale opens up tomorrow. So you need to be on the registration list to have access to that. If you're not on it already, what are you waiting for? People want live for finals. I did see that. I did see that there was some live feeds for finals, things like that. But by then, the judging's already over with. So, you know. Too little, too late. So let's talk about that first before we get into anything here. So, you know, I was at a show this weekend, and I actually was in the gym getting my workout in prior to doing hair and makeup for my girls when pre-judging went on for this show. So I started popping up saw some live feeds pop up and stuff, and I tried to get on them, and then like within a couple of minutes they all shut down. And the promoters were basically telling people they couldn't go live, they couldn't take videos because they had a professional videographer in the house. Okay, listen. I understand that to an extent. However, there is no iPhone on this earth that is going to be as good as a professional video. So as an athlete, you're probably still going to go get the professional video. You really shouldn't be telling people to turn off their cameras and their live streams if you're not offering one. If you're offering one, a free one or paid one, by all means, within your rights, take down the live feeds. You're putting the money in, you're investing in all of that. I totally understand that as a promoter. But if you're not, let your athletes, let your fans, let your friends and family actually enjoy the experience, whether they're there or whether they're going to watch it again later on, you know, that kind of thing. So that was disappointing. That was incredibly disappointing, because I've never seen that happen before. I've never seen a show make people turn their live feeds off if they didn't offer a live feed. You know, I mean, that's just silly. At the end of the day, it actually really hurts your show because people want to watch, people want to be involved, people want to see what's going on, and it actually just hurts your show when you don't allow that. And there's literally no reason for it if it's not affecting your bottom line, it's not affecting your dollars in your pocket as a promoter. That shouldn't have happened. So I don't know if that was just an oversight, a miscalculation on their part, but show promoters, for future, don't do that. If you're not going to offer a live stream, let people in the audience go live. It just makes sense. For you as a promoter too, you want people to see your show. You want people to see your show, right? Agreed, it was so weird, right? And you know, the thing about that sucks is then I'm sitting here, and I know a lot of people think this too. It's like, well, what don't you want us to see? You know, that's where my head goes. I'm like, I want to see the judging. Do you not want us to see what the judging is about? Like, I want to see the judging. I want transparency. I want to see what's happening. You know, because if there's no videos of it, if there's nothing other than what they recorded, they control what gets out there, right? I didn't like that. I thought it was a little shady McGrady. Now, maybe they didn't mean it that way. I'll hand it to them. Maybe it was just an oversight, but that's how it comes across. Now, again, I go back to, if you are offering a live stream or if you're offering a free or a paid live stream or anything like that, I 100% understand that. You want people on your bandwidth. I get it, 100%. But if you're not, let us enjoy it as fans. Don't make people turn their phones off. That's just crazy. You got athletes whose families paid to be in that audience. Who knows how much the tickets were. Let them record their family and friends. You know what I mean? Like, anyway. Seeing shows makes me want to participate next time, right? Made zero sense. It didn't. Yeah, they're selling an edited version later for a fee. Which is, yeah, exactly, an edited version. That's why I sit back and I'm like, what did you have to edit out? Again, maybe that's not what they thought. Maybe that didn't cross their mind, but it crossed mine. I'm like, what are you editing out? What don't you want us to see? Just saying. So promoters, just think of that when you do your show. If you're not going to offer a live stream, let people in the audience turn their phones on. Real simple. With that said, those of you coming to the DC Pro-Am this weekend, there is a live stream all weekend. There's a free one actually for check-ins for pros on Friday. So make sure you log on for that because that'll be fun. You get to see the actual check-ins. You never get to see that. So as fans, that'd be pretty fun to be able to watch the pro athletes actually check in. And again, I know they've got a lot of stuff that's really planned that's special. So, you know, get on the live stream. That one's free. And then Saturday, the live stream is $19.99, which is really inexpensive. So get on that one because your girl is going to be doing BSPN live. I'm be there. So I got lots of girls competing in the show, both on the pro stage and on the amateurs. And we're going to be doing commentary. Myself and a couple of other people will be actually doing live commentary as if you were watching like an NFL show and you've got sports commentators. That's what we're doing. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So please log on. Even if you're local, log on and get the live stream because they're going to get inside tidbits. Think about it this way. Like this was brought up before where, you know, you go to a live football game and it's fun and everything like that, but there's a piece of it missing when you don't have the commentators that you have on TV. Like my husband says it all the time. He would rather watch a football game on TV because you get all of the angles and you get the insights and you get the snippets from the coach's feedback and things like that. So it just adds another piece of entertainment to it. So that's what we're doing this weekend. So log on. We'll have more fun announcements coming up this week as we move along. I'll make sure to keep you in touch with all that. The pro list did come out, but I'm going to wait a couple of days like we always do to let them fully fill out that pro list before I give you guys a preview. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Be a lot of fun. So what show again? The DC Pro-Am. Yeah, this is like for real. It's like a real job. Like this is fun. I enjoy this. But the live stream I'm doing there it's for real. We got lots of things planned for it. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun. You know your girl's going to be on top of that. Can't wait. It's going to be a fun weekend. Like I said, we've got lots of fun stuff planned. So stay tuned. Before we get into that, let's go back and review the Clash of the Titans. Now, all I can really do, I did get a few like bootleg videos sent to me, but they weren't good quality. I just wanted them to know how they were moving people around and things like that. So I did see that a little bit. So I'm going to interject a little bit of that into this recap here. But I'm essentially going to cover the top 6 and then a few other notables that were in that the top 10-ish or so. Because I wanted to go through my predictions too. So my predictions going into the show were kind of all over the place because we didn't know what kind of look they were going to go for, whether they were going to go for a more muscular look or they were going to go for a leaner, sleeker look, right? Before we get into the top 6, I wanted to talk about the few people that I put into my prediction video that did not make it into the top 6 and that dropped below that. So let's look at first Alyssa. So Alyssa Blessing, she placed 10th. Looking at her photos here, I felt like she was a little off. It looks like she's trying to take feedback and adjust for it, but it's really hard to change some of these things in a matter of like a week's time, that kind of thing. Let's see, let me look through her. Her hair was a hot mess. It was a hot mess. I kept looking at that. That's all I could really look at. It was very dry and damaged looking. That's the hard part about being a blonde on stage, you guys. If you're going to do blonde hair on stage, it's really important that it looks healthy. This looks really spotty and dry at the ends. She really needed to probably put some curls in it or maybe some more extensions to fill it out. But you can see where some pieces were toned, some were not. And I know the lighting is very harsh at this show for these pictures, so that's part of it too, but that really shows you all of the flaws, you know what I mean? So you see a lot of it here. That was really distracting for me. That piece of it just really drew my eye, right? Deep conditioning, yes. That's the hard part when you're one of these really bright blondes. You need to make it look healthy if you're gonna do that color. Otherwise it sticks out like a sore thumb, right? So that was the first thing that really distracted me, right? Let's see, let me find one of her back shots here. You know, and again, there's not really any good back shots of her. I don't know why they don't do that. There's like one. And she's kind of from the back. Like she's just kind of, she's tight, but not tight enough. And when I was looking at her in the comparison lineup pictures, she's very grainy from the back in comparison to everybody else. So that's her downfall. Like we talked about this last week where, I know she's probably gotten the feedback that she can't come in as hard as she does sometimes. So she tries to fill back out and that ends up making her look soft. So she tries to dry back out. That ends up making her look too hard and like a shriveled up raisin. That's what happens if you don't fill out properly. We call it a raisin versus a grape. And here I think she's going more towards the end of a raisin. So it's a hard balance. Once you've got that graininess in your frame, it's hard to get rid of it. It's hard to get rid of it. So that's kind of what I saw here. She fell a little flat, and because of that, like, that's where we don't see that fullness, we don't see that pop. So it's just a little bit off, specifically from the back. From the front, it does look like she added a new front pose. She did her typical one at the top of the key, and then she added a new front pose on her opposite side. This new front pose, it's okay. It's a little unbalanced. She needs to do something with her back foot. She still looks like a figure competitor, you know, so I'd like to see her rework this whole posing routine. I think that would really help her, but I think at the same time too, she's got to get under control her conditioning so that she doesn't go too far one way or the other. It's really hard, you guys. It's hard to go down that middle line, and if you miss it, you miss it. And when you're up against girls that look this good, it's noticeable when you miss it. And that's what I felt like happened here. I just felt like she missed it this show. No big deal. Just go back and rework it and redo it again, you know? She went from, what was she third last week or something like that to 10th? That's still not terrible. But, you know, just got to go back and go back to the drawing board on some of this stuff. Fix the hair. Fix the hair. Okay, what's the next one that I had in my potential that didn't make it was Sonia. Now, I don't know what happened with Sonia this week, but I did see her post quite a bit on her social media that it was a really tough week for her. And whatever happened, it did show in her physique. She looked very tired. Her physique looked watery through her waistline, through her legs. She already is one of these girls that has a little bit too much muscle on her lower half. So you add on to that some of that water, and it's just not a good mix. She ends up looking very bottom heavy. I'm not a fan of this green suit on her. I still liked the yellow. I don't know why she doesn't go back to the yellow. She did her best this year in the yellow. Go back to the yellow. Go back to the yellow. But I just felt like this whole package for her was just a little bit off. It was just a little bit off with the suit, with the makeup, with the posing, with the physique. The whole thing was just a little bit off. Yeah, and you know, and when you're a little bit off, again, like we said with Alyssa, you know, this is what happens. You end up in that second call out. This is no joke, you guys. The Pro League is no joke. So, you know, I'd like to see her to go back to that look she had at Optimum Classic, because I think that was her best look so far this season. And I think it really showed her. I just like that pop of yellow on her skin tone. I don't think this green is the best color for her. You know, she just fell a little flat in all these aspects. So I hope she's doing okay, because like I said, it sounded like from her social media post that this was a really tough week for her. So hopefully she's recouping and she's doing okay. So she said in a live that she did her own makeup and she felt off, but have it the best she could that day. She's a beauty. Oh, okay. That makes sense. I mean, in general, like I said, she just looked a little off. And when one thing is off, it can throw everything else off. It can really mess with the whole package. Your confidence factor on stage makes a huge difference. Huge difference on stage. She had a really bad cycle. Makes sense. That's why she looks so watery. That makes sense. Makes total sense. So, you know, hopefully she'll just kind of take a quick breather and regroup and go from there. She's always done that in the past, you know. That's all we can do. Sometimes we fall flat, is what it is. So that we can't be perfect every week, right? So yeah, I'd like to see her come back with kind of the same look she had at Optimum. I think that would be really good for her. Yeah, I was wondering why she didn't come back she didn't go back for finals. Oh no, she must not have felt good at all. You could see it. You could see it in her face. You could see it in her body language that she just didn't feel good. So that sucks. That's never fun. That's never fun. So I hope she feels better. Okay, so, and then the next one that I'd mentioned that didn't end up in that top call out that potentially could have was Hannah. Hannah's another one that she came out on her stories after this show and said, you know, she's doing DC Pro-Am and then she's going to take a real off season, which I think is a very good call for her. Looking at these pictures, she's still got the same issues that she had from the beginning of the season. I feel like she's just gotten small all over, but specifically in her upper body. Her upper body doesn't match her lower. Let me look at her back shot. She's another one that's too soft here. Again, maybe her body's fighting her a little bit. Her body might be fighting her a little bit. After you do a few shows, this is what happens. I mean, all the way around, she looks a little soft. From the back, she looks a little soft. From the front, she looks a little soft. And she just needs to really take some time, I think, to give her body some TLC, to lift some weights, put some size onto her upper body, her shoulders. And I think that will really serve her well, because right now, like I said, same thing as what she had at the beginning of the season. She's just a little unbalanced. And the more you diet, the more you lose size. You know what I mean? So, and for women, we lose size in our upper body before we do our lower body in general. So that looks like what's happening here. And I think going from this show from DC Pro-Am, her next show, into an off season, I think is a good move for her. It'll give her a chance to rest, recoup. She hasn't really had an off season like ever, like a real off season. She's taken a few months off here and there, as do a lot of these girls as they go through these Olympia preps and things like that. Like, that's the hard part, you know. Some of these girls from the last couple of years have been on the point system, where they've been doing show in order to earn points to qualify for the Olympia. And when you do that, your body doesn't get a chance to recoup. And it doesn't matter how young and vibrant you are, your body needs some rest, you know? So I think it's really, it's a good move for her. I think it's a smart move for her. I think it will end up giving her longer longevity in the sport if she takes some time now to just kind of relax and then come back when she feels like she's made some improvement. So I think that's a good move. You know, when you see your body not doing better week after week, you got to make a change. And usually that change means getting off stage, usually, you know. Let's see. All right, so I think that's everyone that didn't make that first call out that I said could potentially do that. So let's move up to top 6. So Shelby Pierce ended up in 6th. Again, another beautiful look for Shelby. Posing was good. There is one thing about her poses that I don't like, and that's her hand way up here on her rib cage. I'd like to see her bring it down to her belly button. I think that would really help. Specifically in these poses, I see her a little cockeyed because her hand is so high. So I'd like to see her pull that down a little bit. It does look like she filled out from last week. You know, I mentioned last week she looked like she needed to fill her shoulders out a little bit. And she does look like she's posing bigger. Like, that's something that I've mentioned to Shanika. Shanika did this show, and I told Shanika, I'm like, you got to pose bigger. And I feel like that's something that Shelby was doing here, which I think really played well for her frame, specifically from the front. I think it really helped her from the front. It just gave her a much better X frame. It did make her shoulders look a little fuller. She may be a little bit fuller too, so that really helped her here. Now, the one place where I think she was lacking a little bit is she was soft in the glutes. Glutes look fantastic, but the tie-ins are a little soft. And again, that's the problem when you try to fill out. When you try to fill out your frame, your upper body starts looking really good and your lower body starts carrying water. You know? So I feel like that's what happened here with her. It definitely improved her from the front, but it softened her up from the back. Still looks great. Glutes still look amazing, but somehow I have to figure out that balance where she can come in just a touch tighter in that lower half while keeping that fullness in the upper half. She's close. She's very, very close here. And again, another beautiful look on her, you know, hair, makeup, all of that. She kind of went with a similar look that she did last week. And I thought that last week was the prettiest I've ever seen her on stage. So I do like this look on her a lot. How tall is she? I don't know. I would assume she's probably 5'5"-ish. I would assume, just by basing on comparison pictures. When I pull up the comparison pictures in a minute, I think she's around the same height as Ashley. So I think she's around 5'5", I think. But yeah, right down that medium line. But I think this was a good package for her. And you can see she's taking her feedback and she's applying it and she's trying to get better. And I always applaud people that are doing that. You know, at least she's trying. At least she's trying to get better, right? Michka, I hope I pronounced that correctly, was the next one, which is in 5th. I believe she competed in Optimum as well. I think she was second call out or something like that in Optimum. Pretty girl, pretty shape. Let me look at her front pose. She's another one that's kind of yanking her shoulder up a little bit in her front pose. I'd like to see her relax that down. That would really help. I did notice that in these comparison shots. I felt like she overposed a lot. It just felt like when you look at a bikini competitor on stage, when they pose, you know they're putting effort in and things like that, but it shouldn't look like they're exerting that much effort. With her, it looked like she was exerting a lot of effort to be posing in her poses. That's where we get that really hyped up shoulder in her front pose. She just needs to breathe and relax that down. Let's see. Where's her back shot? Yeah, and her back shot is tilted too. I mentioned this the other week with Corey that came in second to Ashley at the Mile High, where she was tilted. This girl's tilted as well. Same reason. If you look at her, her left side is squished from the back. That's because she poses on her left side from the front. So this, again, I'm gonna say this again. Ladies, pose on both sides of your body. Both front sides. Pose on both of them. Again, you don't have to put them both on stage, but practice posing on both sides. You need to balance your frame so that this doesn't happen when you get to the back. She's pushing really hard in her back pose. You can see her chest is up really high and her chin and nose is up really high. She just needs to relax that a little bit, and she needs to better balance her front poses so that her back pose looks balanced too. The fact that she's pushing too hard here actually flattens out her tie-ins and things like that from the back as well. She has better glutes than what she's showing in this picture. The same thing that I said about Corey. Same exact thing. She is over posing. Her hair is a little bit too long too. You can't see the lower back. You always want your hair to be just a little bit above the suit bottom so that you can see a little bit of skin between your hair and your suit bottom. That allows us to look like you've got a small waistline from the back and creates that X. Without that little piece right there, she just looks like glutes and legs, right? So these little things, these little teeny tiny things, posing. Most of this with her is just posing tweaks. And a lot of it is just going through and underposing versus overposing, right? She's just trying a little too hard. That's it. That's it. She's got a great frame, great shape. She doesn't need to do that. I tell you ladies that work with me all the time, if you've got a great shape, you just got to go up there and show it. You don't have to overpose. You don't have to make it look like it hurts. I know it hurts. Trust me. I know. I know it hurts, but it shouldn't look like it does, right? Let me see. But I actually really was impressed with her. She looks really good. Big, beautiful smile. Love that. That's really important. This lighting in this show was really harsh. It's hard for me to comment on makeup looks and stuff in this show because the lighting was really harsh. Looking at her face, I felt like she could use a little bit more color in her face. But again, I can't really tell. Yeah, Shanika, it was really hard lighting, so it's very hard. Like, I feel like she could use some more lip color or some more eye color or something like that. But again, I can't really comment on that because the lighting was so hard. But I like the overall look that she has here. She's a very pretty girl, and again, that big beautiful smile makes a difference. Makes a big difference. That confidence factor that we talked about. That confidence makes a big difference. All right. Anya, 4th place. All right, so Anya, I have not seen her on stage in a while. If I remember correctly, hearing from social media that this is the first time she's been on stage in a couple of years, something like that. She looks great. I was very impressed by her. Very impressed by her. Her overall shape and her frame is killer. I mean, looks really, really good. Her conditioning's on point from the front and from the back. Front pose, she just needs to stand up a little taller. She's pushing a little bit too much, but she's on point. And I'm gonna talk about this once we get into comparisons and things like that too, but I was very impressed with this girl's look. She's one that if you look at her hair, she's blonde, but she's not quite bleach blonde. She's got some honey tones to it. And you look at her from the back with her hair, it's nice and healthy and shiny. None of that dead ends and things like that we talked about with Alyssa. This is a pretty blonde hair look, right? She looks healthy. That's what you always have to think of when you're thinking of hair on stage. It needs to look healthy, and this looks great. Yeah, from the back, her glutes are amazing. She looks really, really good. I expect to see her gain some momentum really quickly. Her back pose is on point. You see those shoulders out at the top, right into that small part of that waist and down into her legs and her glutes. This is what I was talking about with that Mishka. With Anya, you can see the lower part of her back between her bikini bottoms and her hair, and that completes that X frame for her. That brings that tight, tiny waistline in for her, and that makes her look like an X from the back. Really, really good job on that. Team Elite Physique, yes, and I do know that. I knew she's a part of Team Elite Physique too. This is a very, very good look for her, and she's really well balanced. I mean, she's just really well balanced from top to bottom. Let's see, full round tight all the way around. Got a few of these. Now, I will say I was not a fan of her makeup. This is one I can say I was not a fan of her makeup. It looked a little bit too clownish. She has that really hard, like smoky eye, black smoky eye on. If you guys know me, which most of you do, I don't like smoky eyes that are black on stage because they make you look really hard. They close your eyes off, all of that. If you're gonna do a smoky eye, it needs to be more along the browns and the golds versus the blacks and the silvers, which is what she's got on here. Couple that with the red lips and the red suit, and it was just too much. It looks, and I say this with all love in my heart, but it looks like a hooker. So please, if you're going on stage and you're going to do something bold with your makeup, make sure it doesn't match your suit, and make sure it's one or the other. Make sure it's your eyes or it's your lips, and it's not both. If it's both, it becomes too much, and that's what we stare at, right? So I will say her makeup look was too much. But other than that, I think overall her entire package was beautiful. So she just got to tone that look down a little bit. Just got to tone that look down a little bit. She'll be all right, okay? I would like to see her go with more of a brownish smoky eye, maybe more of a pinkish kind of lip, and I think that would have done very well for her. This look here is what was popular in Bikini when it first started. If you guys don't remember Bikini back in the day, it was all about that dark smoky eye and that red lip. I mean, that was Bikini. That was Bikini when it first started. Not anymore. Not anymore. All right, let's move on here. Third, went back to the green suit. So yeah, the green suit was definitely her color for sure. Now her tan was actually a little bit on the greenish side too. I did notice that. This could be from competing week after week after week. Your skin starts to get like pH, the pH tends to get off a little bit. So my suggestion, I believe she's competing in DC, my suggestion is to make sure you get all of that tan off between this show and DC so that you can start fresh, so that it's not like you're adding another layer on top where you're gonna look even more that greenish tone. And again, this is the lighting too with this show. I could be wrong on this, but just based on looking at her next to the other girls, I felt like she was a little bit green in her look with her tan, which obviously is not a good thing when you're putting it up against a green suit. Now she is one that gets super dark anyway, so that's a good thing. She's got to be careful about that ashy, greeny kind of tinge to it. Make sure you get all of your tan off. If you're going from show to show, make sure you get all of your tan off between shows. That will make a difference. She does look a little bit streamlined in the front from her last show look, which is good. That's the direction she needs to go. She looks like she's pulling her poses down just a little bit. Again, that's the right direction to go. She's taking her feedback and she's applying it. She looks a lot less posed like a figure competitor. She still has that shape. She still has that frame, but she's not pulling it way out like she was in previous shows, which is good. That's the way she needs to go. She's taking her feedback and she's applying it. This is exactly what you should be doing as a competitor, right? Yep, my first show was red lip, black smoky eye, platinum hair, and royal blue suit. America, yep, never again, right? Yeah, that was the look back in the day. Not anymore. Okay, so moving on to her back shot. This, again, much better balance from her back shot than what she had in the past too. You know, when she did Optimum Classic, all we saw were her hamstring, her quads and her hamstrings and all that kind of stuff. So, she still has a lot of quad and hamstring. She still is a muscular girl. That's just the bottom line. She's still a muscular girl, but she's tweaking. She's making adjustments. She's pulling those in. Now, I'd still like to see a smaller suit cut on her in the back. I think that will help her balance. You know, I know the last show that she did, 2 shows ago, whatever it was, she did the black suit, which black suit had a smaller cut on her bottoms, which I did like that, but I didn't like black. So if we could just get a little bit less coverage on those glutes, just a touch less coverage on those glutes in this green suit, I think that's the winner right there. And I'd also trim her hair a little bit. It's a little bit too long. I'd trim off about 1 inch of that hair so we can see that lower back. Again, that will help her with the overall X frame. But she's working. You can tell she's taking her feedback and she's applying it. She's trying to make these changes that they're looking for. Her glutes look nice and full and round. It looks really good. She's just more muscular, so she's going to have to continue to tweak these things until she finds the right spot for her. You know, look at Chen Chi. You know, she was the same way. She was more muscular when she first started, and then she just kept tweaking her presentation to get it to the point where she was competitive and she won a show. I think the same thing is what Sierra's going to have to do too. She was great in Milwaukee too, just couldn't tell because of the horrible lighting. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when your pH and your skin is off, and that happens from competing a lot and putting a lot of tanning product on. So that's my suggestion: get all the tan off, get it all off, and skin prep well, and all of that kind of stuff too, so that can make sure that you get it on nice and even and brown, right? Let's see, 'cause there's not a whole lot tanners can do if your skin pH is off. But no, this was an improved package for her, for sure. And as I get up to the top two, then I'm going to go back and talk about their comparison rounds. All right, Carolina. So Carolina came in second here. So Carolina has been steadily in that 3-4 place. Now she's in second. Based on her pictures in her individual, I would have put her in first. I would have put her in first place based on these pictures. And I'll explain why I say that. When she got into her comparisons, so she fixed a lot of her posing issues, right? In her individual. One of the things that I'd mentioned to her and to her coach, because they reached out to me, is that her back pose, she needed to stand up a little taller in back pose, which she did that. Her front pose, she was yanking too much in her front pose. She stopped doing that. She did both of those things here in her individual. Beautiful look. I mean, you can't get much better than that. I mean, you really can't. Her individual pictures look fantastic. But when she got into comparisons, old muscle memory started building back up, and you started seeing her yank again in that front pose. Back pose, she was fine. Back pose, she hit that, she nailed it. She was a little bit fuller, a little bit rounder in this show, which is what they wanted to see from her, and I think this was her best look that she's had so far this year. And based on her individual pictures, I would have given her the win. But when you go back and you look at the comparisons, you see how that muscle memory took over and she started yanking in that front pose. So she's just got to untrain that. And I think that was the one thing that may have put her in second versus first. Because other than that, I feel like she was very well balanced from top to bottom. And she was nice and full. I mean, when you look at her in the comparison shots, she was like down the middle of everybody. Like if people were too small, other people were too big, she was just right. She's the three bears. She was just right, you know? So beautiful look. She's another one that has the right look for her blonde hair. Beautiful. That worked great for her. I really liked this package on her a lot. This was my favorite package on her so far. And again, I'm going to go back and talk a little bit about those comparisons in just a minute. We're going to go to Ashley next. It was a 1 point difference. Yes, it was a very close show. Very, very close show. Okay, so looking at Ashley, now the one thing I will hand Ashley is that over the course of this year, her posing has gotten better each show. She's getting a little bit more confident. She's not quite so awkward with her posing anymore. It still needs work, but she is getting a lot better from show to show to show. Let me pull up. Where's her front pose right here? There it is. Front pose looks good. Yeah, front pose looks good. Needs to still drop her arm a little bit, still out a little bit too far. If she drops that arm down a little bit more, that's going to help her shoulder round out, because that's where she lacks. She lacks in her shoulders. So if she pulls her arm down a little bit more, it's going to help her to round that shoulder out for her. But overall, I think this is a pretty good front pose for her. And then we look at her back. Oh, that's not posed yet. Hold on. Yeah, back pose is pretty good too. Back pose is pretty good too. So overall, I think this is a good pose. You can't see her delts, which is a problem. She needs to work on that. She just needs to work on overall her upper body in her back poses, period. She used to have those really big chicken wings. Now she doesn't have those anymore. You still can't see her shoulders because her hair is covering it. So she needs to work on that part of her back pose. Her glutes are phenomenal. They always are, you know, so that's going to always be the hard part to beat with her. So going back to this, and she's another one where her tan was a little off. Again, I think because she's scrubbing that tan off of herself every single week, you see spots on her frame that are darker than others and muddier than others, and she's just a little bit off with that tan because you literally have to get all that tan off between shows, right? So you see that in these pictures. You see where the tan like gripped a little bit harder and probably in some drier areas on her skin, that kind of thing. And it just gave an unbalanced look with the tan. It wasn't quite as even as it should be. So I don't think she's competing this weekend. So she's got a couple of weeks to get the tan off, right? So that's always a thing when it comes to the tan. Yeah, the way she's posing in her front pose is good too, because her suit bottoms don't look quite so low. Sometimes her suit bottoms looks dangerously low, but they're actually not. They don't look like that here, the way that she's posing. So that's actually a big improvement. I know she's been working on that. I know she's been working on her posing a lot. More than anything else, she's been working on her posing. So that's good. Looking to see. And she did, looks like pink nails this week, which is better than green that she had last week. So at least she didn't do green nails again. She's learning, you know, so that's good. So those are all little things that she's improving. So those are good things, right? So let's look at the comparison shots to finish this out. And specifically, I want to look at the very end where they did the confirmation round, because that was between Ashley, Carolina, and Sierra. So when you look at those three next to each other, in that final confirmation round, Ashley was in the middle for the majority of the time, and then they put Sierra in the middle at the end, and Carolina was never in the middle during that time. So, you know, looking at that, you would think that the winner was going to be either Ashley or Sierra based on how they moved them, but the points didn't add out, or didn't work out that way. But specifically what I want you to look at when you pull up these pictures of the comparisons is how different each one of their frames are, and all of these little things I was just mentioning. So you can see here by looking at this video, or at these pictures, that Sierra's tan was a little bit greener than everybody else. Even Ashley, you know, I mentioned Ashley's a little muddy in some spots, but she's not green, right? Sierra is. Sierra's a little bit green. Ashley's a little bit muddy. And then Carolina's tan is nice. Carolina's tan is nice and smooth. But Carolina's yanking in her front pose. In every one of these front poses, she's yanking. So that goes back to that muscle memory. And I really believe that if she could have just relaxed into that front pose, I think she would have won this show. I think she would have won this show if she'd relaxed in that front pose. When you turn them to the back, let me pull up a back shot where the three of them are next to each other. Yeah. Because, yeah, when you turn them to the back, the three of them are very comparable. They're very, very comparable from the back. You know, it's like even though Carolina is probably the smallest of the three, she's got the nicest width with her delts. So she looks very balanced from top to bottom. She has a really great X frame from the top to bottom. Sierra, you can tell she's pinching her shoulders a little bit, and she's doing that on purpose because, you know, obviously she has a bigger width up top, so she's trying to pull her muscularity down. So she actually is the biggest of the three, but you can tell that she's working on pulling that in. And then Ashley just has the thinnest upper body. So if I was, you know, she's got great glutes. Don't get me wrong. I think of the three, Ashley's glutes are the best, right? So you put it between Ashley and Carolina's beats her on the top from the back, and Ashley beats Carolina from the bottom of the back, right? I missed it. What's yanking? Front pose of Carolina. So when you turn them to the front, I think that this show was won from the front. Honestly, I think Ashley won it from the front. And I think if Carolina had just relaxed in her front pose in this particular confirmation round, I think she would have won it. Because from the back, there's pluses and minuses of each one of them. So, again, that's why I go back to, if I was judging this based on the pictures from the individual comparisons, I would have picked Carolina to win. I would have picked Carolina as the winner. So I think it's very, very close. And I think, again, being a rookie pro, Carolina, this is her third show as a pro. Third. She's going to qualify for the Olympia one of these weeks. It's just going to happen. It's going to happen. And she's going to fix this. She already did fix the pose. She fixed the pose in her individual, but when she started to get stressed and started to get, you know, compared and all that, that's where she kind of lost it and went back to the old muscle memory, right? So that matters. You guys, when you're at home practicing, make sure that you're holding your poses. Make sure you're holding your poses because it matters. You can see this. I really, truly believe that's where she missed this by 1 point. Yeah, because if you took her front pose from her individual and stuck it in here, she would have beat all three of these girls, or all two of these girls, I guess, out of the three, right? I have to say, though, in general, I'm really impressed with every one of these girls taking the feedback that they're taking. You can see that they're working hard to adjust what they've been told. You can see that they're getting their judging feedback at every one of these shows, and they're trying to come back a little bit better each time. And that's what this is all about. That's what this is all about, you guys. So I'm very impressed seeing all of that, right? Oh, and I got to give a shout out to Shanika too, because I don't know if she's still on here. I know she was on here at the beginning and she competed in the show and looked phenomenal. She's another one that took feedback and ran with it, came back and posed way better at this show, way better at this show. But yeah, I think this was a very, very close call. And if I was a judge, that's what it would come down to for me, is that front pose right there. That's what it comes down to. All about getting better each time. Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. Each one of these girls is doing that. You can tell the ones that are taking their feedback and they're working with it. You can tell. So kudos to each one of you ladies doing that. It's hard when you get to this level. Those of you that have been at this level, it's little teeny tiny things make the difference between top 3 and 15th. You know what I mean? Teeny tiny little things. And that's what it's all about. I mean, you can see here, Ashley didn't win this hands down. She won it by 1 point. So it's teeny tiny little things. And you just got to keep adjusting and getting better to fix those teeny tiny little things, right? I have no other questions here. This is a long one, guys. I didn't realize it's already 9 o'clock. Wow, I still have video critiques to do. We have a lot of you ladies on our posing portal now, so I have a ton of video critiques to send out every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So if I haven't gotten to you yet, I haven't forgotten about you. I just gotta, after I get off this live, I'll be doing it for you. It will be edited by tomorrow on our YouTube channel. And if you're not subscribed to that yet, you can also click the link in my bio for that and get subscribed. Turn on notifications so that you know when the videos actually go live, and you can go over and watch, and you can figure out what yanking means. Real easy. All right, you guys. Have a great rest of your night. I'm going to get out of here so I can go get these critiques done. And I'll see you again back here live 8:15.